Had 7 turnovers against the Rams and the Patriots. Drew's had 1 all year. I mean, So you get all the upside without any of the downside. You actually played with Drew for 1 year in San Diego.
I did.
So let's go back. I can remember. Here's what I remember about it. I can remember little Drew. We all think of Drew as a saint. I actually, being a West Coast guy, have always kind of watched the Chargers. I always liked the Chargers. And I remember a lot about him. What do you remember about the year?
For one, just coming in and seeing somebody like that from college, you're not used to it, right? I mean, he was another level mentally. He was always on a mission, always straight to his target. I mean, from the weight room to straight to the meeting room, straight to practice. I've never really seen Drew lingering around, hanging out, just chatting. It was always on a mission.
Business.
Yeah, always business. And, so that's why when he got hurt in 2005, and I was probably 15 to 20 feet away on the sideline, and I actually heard his shoulder pop out of place.
Oh God!
On that last play, we were out in the playoffs. We wasn't going, and he fumbles the ball and reaches for it, pops his shoulder out of place.
And you also, if I recall, trained with him for the rest of the time.
Yeah, and so
same trainer.
We had the same trainer in San Diego, Todd Durkin. So during the off season, we would go and before OTA started, when we had our free time, we would go and train. And he had just had his shoulder done, complete. I think a rotator dislocation, the whole 9. Everything was done, and I thought he was done. So see him getting the range of motion back with the bands and everything, I said, man, this is going to be rough. He was really working at it every day. And when he first started throwing the football, I don't think I've seen him throw a football over 15 yards. When he first picked up the football, 15, 20 yards was like the max I've seen him throw. Then over the next course of a few months, then he started throwing the ball 25 yards, 30 yards. But when he first started out, I thought there was no way that he was going to get back to what he's doing right now. And that, to me, is why I believe that he should be up for the MVP, right? Because everything he's been through last year, probably to them as a fluke, and just the injuries in the course of his career, for him not to be talked about right now as an MVP candidate is insane.
It is funny, too, the way it works. Now, it's different for linebackers and other players. You can get drafted by a crappy team, get traded, and then have a great last 7 years.
Right.
But when it comes to quarterbacks, whoever drafts you owns you for years, and you can get trapped. And if it goes bad initially, coach, injury, team, there are almost no second acts for quarterbacks. Almost none. Drew's it. Like Drew, first act didn't go well.
Right.
Miami Dr. No goes to New Orleans. His second act is, if Aaron Rodgers in 3-4 years left Green Bay, his second act wouldn't be as good. Let's be honest. Even Brett Favre went to the Jets. Embarrassing. Vikings good for an hour. It's over. So Breeze is a remarkable story. Speaking of quarterbacks, McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers, you know a lot of players.
Yeah.
I've been saying this for years. I used to get a lot of pushback. Now everybody's like, okay, you're right. It's never been ideal. One guy looks like a Chicago cop. The other guy's California cool. Couldn't I just make an argument? Yesterday, Brett Favre came out and said, I think Mike McCarthy's great. And my takeaway is, yeah, but McCarthy saved Favre's career.
Right.
Remember, Mike Sherman was there. They were terrible. I understand why Favre loves McCarthy. I've never thought Aaron connects with him.
No, I don't think so either. And you got to look at how that team was built. Mike McCarthy put players around Brett Favre. They had at tight end Sterling Sharp, Antonio Freeman, the Levens with the running back Levens in the backfield.
Yep.
So
Dorsey Levens.
Yeah, Dorsey Levens, and he had guys on the defense side of the ball. I just believe they rode Aaron Rodgers to the ground by not putting anybody around him and expecting him to go out and win each and every game, and now that's it. They rode it to the ground. They didn't give him the tools to go out and win football games.
Hasn't really had a great running game in 4 to 5 years. Passed on Khalil Mack. Haven't re-signed even some of their Pro Bowl level offensive linemen. I think it's almost like Aaron's so talented, they've taken advantage of him a little bit. Aaron Rodgers, the Packers have taken advantage of it.
Well, it's a quarterback league, and I get it. So you have a great quarterback, you're going to win some football games, but how long is that going to last? The last time they won the Super Bowl
8 years ago.
8 years ago. So you're telling me you don't put talent around somebody for the last 5, 6, 7 years in order for him to go out and win another one? That, to me, just falls on the coach. That has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers.
Sean Merriman played 8 years, former Defensive Player of the Year, multiple Pro Bowlers. So Monday night, we saw Chiefs-Rams.
Yeah.
I think it's both sustainable. Chicago Bears, I don't. I think Trubisky runs too much. I think he's marginal. I think it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. Bears historically have a wacko front office and a wacko ownership. But when you watch Goff and Mahomes, talk about each. What would it like to be for you to face each?
Well, this is the thing. If you look at both of these teams on the offense side of the ball, they're very similar across the board, right? And talented wide receiver, they got big play guys. Travis Kelce can do damage. They got the wide receiver. I'm sorry,
Zeke.
Yeah, exactly. They're drawing all. They got all
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill. Sorry, they got all these guys on the offense side of the ball. I think when you start to look at this team, you look at the defense, right? Because they both haven't stopped. They haven't done too well on defense, both sides of the ball. But Aaron Donald, right, I think is a deciding factor who I wouldn't want to play. Like, I wouldn't want to play the Rams because of that reason. Both of these quarterbacks are going to have 300-plus yards. If Patrick Mahomes goes out and he only throws for 300 yards, you're patting your defense on the back and say, guys, good job.
Right.
You only gave up 300 yards. Right. You don't want to admit that as a defensive player, but you know the talent you're going in and facing. The deciding factor in who I wouldn't want to play is who I have to see on the defense side of the ball. I don't want to see Aaron Donald. I don't want to go and have to see what he did. And being a former defensive player, an outside linebacker, and being in a rush the passer, you can expect to go out and see guys do that. Be the tackle around the edge and go and look pretty and get a sack.
Right.
A guy that's doing that in an interior lineman position.
It's unheard of.
It's unheard of. I don't think we've seen anything like him probably in the last 2 decades.
The only player I can compare to Aaron Donald is Reggie White.
That's it.
And I think Reggie was gone by the time you played, or was it close? He was out.
He was out.
Yeah, Reggie White was an interior defensive lineman that could lead the NFL in sacks, and that just doesn't happen.
Right.
Aaron's spectacular. All right, let's talk about Cowboys and Washington play tomorrow. And Washington's got Colt McCoy, who's been in that system for a few years. Gut feeling on the winner of that game is
I like the Cowboys. I can't go back home to Maryland where I'm from, but,
yes.
I like the Cowboys in this game just because of the momentum that they have. I think, nothing against Colt McCoy. I think he's a really good backup quarterback.
Yeah.
And nowadays, that's not bad.
Yeah.
You have guys that come in and you have a solid backup. You have a safety blanket. If something happens, you got a good guy that can stand in there and win a football game or two for you. With that division being so wide open, this is not the guy to lead it. He's just not. He's not the guy that's going to take it over and put these guys over the top. Yeah. And right now, and how the Cowboys are playing with this momentum, I just don't see the Redskins having an opportunity to come out winning this game. Yeah. I don't. The Cowboys are going to run the ball. Obviously, going to give Ezekiel Elliott the ball over and over again, and that's going to open up the passing game. And I just don't think that Colt McCoy has enough to respond to what's going to happen.
By the way, you surprised the Eagles have Malcolm Jenkins came out yesterday and said, we're just not accountable. Doug Peterson came out 2 weeks ago and said, we're not accountable. Jason Kelce, offensive lineman, came out a week ago and said, we're just not accountable. 3 guys on that team have all said the same thing. Accountable means guys ain't putting the time in.
Right.
Are you shocked at the Super Bowl hangover?
Not really. I spent a lot of time. I went to the Hall of Fame, right, this offseason to see Ray Lewis and seeing a couple guys. And Dawkins was getting elected into the Hall of Fame.
Brian Dawkins.
Yeah, Brian Dawkins. And you've seen how the Philly fans represented this whole offseason. Everything that I did, the draft, the Philly, they're living life right now, right? This is the biggest thing that's ever happened, really, to that city. And I think the expectations became so high that it's almost like the hangover. They can't fulfill what happened before, and they're still living for what happened to them last season.
I always call it the lottery winner syndrome. Somebody that's never been wealthy gets all this money and doesn't know what to do with it. Philadelphia doesn't win Super Bowls. And so they win a Super Bowl, and they don't know how to act.
Yeah.
Everybody's writing a book. Everybody's got endorsements. I mean, it's just one of those things where the Giants have won a lot of Super Bowls, and Washington's won 3, and Dallas won 5, and Pittsburgh's won a bunch, and New England's won a bunch. And those teams, you don't get this. This was so predictable to me. It's the lottery winner syndrome. Philadelphia gets to the playoffs occasionally. They don't win Super Bowls. They just didn't know what to do.
And they have been acting like it. It's almost like you see a guy that's dancing every single time he gets in the end zone. What do you always say? Act like you